Welcome to Contact Has Begun, brought to you by the grace of the World Puja Network, one of the last vestiges of truth concerning benevolent, spiritually, and technologically advanced off-world visitors. Some refer to these visitors as our greater family of man or returning ancient ancestors. I am James Gillen, your host, and our guests also include cutting-edge physicists, authors, teachers, and healers dedicated to the awakening and healing of humanity and the earth. Let the journey begin. All right, this is James Gillen with World Puja. I've got a great guest today. We've got so many different things going on here. It's pretty interesting. I'm going to skip a lot of the other things that we're supposed to talk about and just get right to our guests, because I think this is a very important subject we want to get into. So I have Jeff Peckman on, and he's very, very well known in the UFO community now because of the Denver initiative. The initiative, I guess, is 300 for ET Affairs, establishing a commission for ET Affairs. And he's working with the Stan Romanek case, and which has some pretty interesting footage on that. But before we get into too much of this, I want to just bring him on the air. So, Jeff, are you with us?
Yes, I am, James. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, great. Thanks for coming on the show. There's a lot of different areas. First of all, how did you get into this UFO field?
Well, I was introduced to Stan Romanek's evidence a few years ago, and I was intrigued by it. I did not know that there was that much evidence on hand to share with the public, but the public was not paying much attention, and neither was the news media. So I decided to try to help out in some way, and I helped promote one lecture of his a little bit to some media contacts I had, and they weren't taking an interest. So I knew that doing a ballot initiative on this issue and engaging the power of the people as voters to vote on it would get them to pay attention, and because of that, the news media would pay attention. And that's exactly what's happened. And what we want to do is to present the best evidence, the best truths about this reality of extraterrestrial visitors to the people when we know they're paying attention and going deeply into the issue, because they will be voting on it. But I don't actually have any close connection with Stan Romanek's case. It was one thing that compelled me to think about this, but there are many, many different cases and a lot of evidence, and all of that is meant to be presented to the public by this commission once it's formed, approved by the people.
Yeah, I've got about 2 boxes of footage, that I can contribute to the cause.
It all counts.
Yeah, it's undeniable. There's stuff we have. I don't know if you've been to our website, but we do ambassador trainings and a lot of other practices here, which actually draw them in. Now, I thought it very interesting that you teach TM, which I think you have to have a spiritual foundation to even have a clue as to what's going on, in ufology, basically. But most people are just stuck on the nuts and bolts aspect of it. They want a metal ship with nuts and bolts and physical evidence, and they want them to come down and put something in their hand, like a piece of metal or something of that nature.
Right. It's true, and you're just absolutely right in that. And people can achieve that spiritual foundation and evolve to higher states of consciousness through many different ways. And I chose the Transcendental Meditation program and been very satisfied with that. I haven't been teaching it recently, just focused on other things, clean energy technologies, and a business website I have called World Peace Market, which is meant to, just share cutting-edge, subtle technologies that can increase our quality of life. It doesn't matter where they're from. If they're extraterrestrial, that's fine too. So I've just always been trying to be on the cutting edge to bring these things to the public's awareness. And through this ballot initiative, we intend to make it known that, yes, there are extraterrestrial technologies. They do have certain capabilities that we could benefit from. So we should be alert to that so that we can identify things that are useful to us, that can help us prevent destroying our planet, and to rise to these higher vibrations, higher levels of consciousness, and be welcomed into the larger galactic community.
Mm-hmm. Now, I know if you do the research, and that's why I'm amazed that very few people have, but if you look back in the ancient Vedic scriptures, they talk about over 400,000 humanoid beings out there in the universe. And they talk about the different types of ships, the Vimanas, and they said some are physical, some are just pure energy ships, some are magnetized light ships, and they talk about the beings that are on them, which are also, some are physical or less dense physical, and some are pure energy, and some have magnetized light bodies. And that, all the evidence is there, and then you look at all the frescoes around the world. I mean, in Europe with UFOs in them, it's always been a part of our culture and our history, but it seems over the past 60 years it's been completely edited out.
Yes, and I've been introduced to a lot of that. I'm actually fairly new to this topic. Really, it's only been the last 3 years that I've been absorbing this kind of information and have ended up as a spokesperson for a lot of it. But one thing that is not as well known, and you mentioned the Vedic tradition, there's a man named Brahmarishi Mamuni Mayan who was around, 7,000 or 10,000 years ago, and he is credited with directly or indirectly starting the Mayan culture. But he was from India, and he inscribed his knowledge on palm leaves. And many of those palm leaves still exist today, and they're being translated. And one of the treatises, which I believe has not been translated, was about how to build spaceships and how to power spaceships with the use of yantras. And this was 10,000 years ago, and there's some references to his wife actually having left the planet on different occasions. So, yes, there's just such a wealth of historical knowledge to document that, or at least support this hypothesis that's pretty obvious to a lot of people, but I'll call it a hypothesis that we have been visited. It's influenced our civilization. We may be the result of an experiment globally for all these thousands of years, an extraterrestrial experiment. So, yes, it's there. It's there, and hopefully through such programs as what you're doing, through the Ancient Aliens program on the History Channel. I had an opportunity to participate in that in the last episode. This information, and it was an excellent series. And, the information is there, but again, people are not paying attention. So hopefully through this ballot initiative, we can get this topic, because it is it's an election issue, it's common for students, for entire classrooms to take this issue on, a particular unusual issue like this, and hold a mock election in the schools. Now, when that happens, and they have to debate both sides, one or other side of the issue, and vote on it, well, then it becomes their homework to study this issue. And that was a big reason for doing this, and a big reason to ask for it to be delayed until November from August, so that the students would be in school. So this is a way to legitimize this topic so that it can be discussed in schools, at the water cooler, in bars and restaurants, just become the talk of the town, and everybody will, you'll find people competing to be the best expert on this. Instead of feeling fear of ridicule, they'll say, well, I happen to know, or I saw this, and I know somebody that was there, and that's the fun part of it.
I know with this major disclosure movement that's going on with Bob Salas, who actually was just here a couple of weeks ago, and he got to see the ships. We're going to bring him on the air here pretty soon, but it was quite interesting that he's kind of like one of the forefront or lead witnesses in bringing this information out. And we've had triple PhD Boeing engineers here, Lockheed Skunk Works engineers, actually film the ships, and we just had 200 people at the Science, Spirit, and World Transformation Conference engage in an intention experiment to connect with them, send the message out telepathically. We want to connect. We want, help us out down here. We really want to know who you are and whatever. And we sent that out. And then we walked out of the building with over 200 witnesses, and John Riley, who's a Lockheed engineer, and Brooks Agnew, a biophysicist, and I don't know how many other people filmed this, but the ship came in and powered up and flew right over the conference building with everybody standing there to see it.
Was it a clearly visible, like the kind of physical thing you were talking about before, or was it a little ethereal and you could just go?
Well, what it is, it was a brilliant pink-orange light that looked crystalline in nature, bright, really bright, and one solid light. There was no running lights on it. There was no strobe, just one solid, brilliant light. But as it came in and came over the building, it started changing all different colors. It looked like a rainbow, basically, and it turned to blue and all these red, all these different colors. And it was clearly, it was very low, clearly nothing terrestrial, nothing that we have, made no sound whatsoever. And, we had 200 witnesses, and what are the odds of it coming exactly when we ended the intention experiment, when everybody was walking out the door? And we had William Henry out there, Lisa Renee, Mary Rodwell, Dolores Cannon,
Wow, that's quite a crew.
All of them were there, and along with a physicist that saw it and filmed it. So that's one of the ongoing things happening here, and I know what you're up against because it shocked me because this is going on for 15 years, and we're still just now breaking into mainstream press with it.
Well, with that kind of intention, power of intention, I'd like to make a suggestion, because the reason I was a little bit delayed in connecting this morning is I read this morning that the rock band Muse is a contender for being the biggest rock band in the world right now. And they've been on a U.S. tour. A couple weeks ago in England, they have a song called Exopolitics. They are very much aware of mind control and government cover-up and all that sort of thing. And they do spectacular concerts. And in England, they had a large inflated UFO, silver kind of saucer craft, hovering over the audience, floating over the audience, and then an acrobat dropped out the bottom and was sprinkling glitter. And it was just one piece of their spectacular visual display that they have during their performance. Now, I thought, when I saw that, I thought, oh my gosh, what an incredible thing to have a band like that. Why couldn't we have had something like that in Denver during the campaign? So I just Googled their tour and found out they're actually playing in Denver in the Pepsi Center this coming Saturday night.
Wow.
And I thought, wow, that's great. But I've been trying to make a connection with them through, just now I kind of got sidetracked and was sending off an email to somebody to try to get it through to Ellen DeGeneres, through somebody that was a supporter of the campaign, and to see if she has any connections to reach this guy who's dating actress Kate Hudson, and just to see if he'd want to use our campaign poster, which is a craft hovering over the skyline of Denver, and there's a rainbow-colored band running around the underneath side of this. So that's what you reminded me of that when you're describing that craft. And so if anybody has access to Matt Bellamy at Muse or the concert promoters and can get this message too, it'd be great for this issue in Denver, for the ballot initiative, to make that connection. Maybe he would say something, endorse it, show this poster as part of his visual display, or we have a meet in front